for a round of introductions. I'd like to acknowledge that we are we're privileged to be here after their care of these lands for thousands of years. And we commit ourselves again to walk the path of reconciliation. So just a quick round of introductions. And the committee members today are all here. And that is Trustee Manuel and Trustee Vanville. We'll just start with Chair Dunford, please.
Sure. Tim Dunford, Central Sandwich Trustee, and I serve as board chair.
Craig Manuel, Social Trustee and member of the committee. Darcy Meany, District Teacher Leader. Sally Morgan, former teacher at Sandwich. Layla Sinclair-Weiss, Vice Principal at Lochside Elementary. I'm Susan Chisholm, I'm the Vice Principal at Breckman, and I'm the former District Vice Principal in Business Education, and that's the capacity which I'm here today.
AFO Superintendent.
Helena Teffer, Director of Instruction, and just so that you know, I have put on a recording.
I'm Melissa Austin, District Principal of Distance Education.
Welcome back.
Peter Westhaver, Assistant Superintendent.
Joyce Bandel, South Zone Trustee and member of the committee. Susan Hinton, Central Sandwich Trustee. Susan Murphy, North Sandwich Trustee.
Melanie Pass, Assistant Superintendent.
And Lola Silzer, Trustee for Sydney and the Chair of the committee.
And I'll take a deep breath. Shannon Schwartz, STA President.
Welcome all. So our agenda committee members, there's a bit of a change in the order for everyone. So we'll start with school plans so that Assistant Superintendent Cass can be first. So school plans first. Second is Darcy McGee and the documentary film. And third is the name change for the Indigenous focused board authorized course. And that's it. Is there anything else? Okay, so we'll start with Assistant Superintendent Cass.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh, and just to clarify too, this is a point, an item for recommendation. So we will be making a recommendation that this be approved by the board as a whole.
Okay. Sorry. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to show off the good work that all of our schools have been doing in updating their school plans. As you know, this work started in 2022, 2023 under previous Assistant Superintendent Paul McKenzie, and led us through ways to collect data through streets data, through Shane Saphir's work, in order for us to arrive at what are our school goals and what are some concrete questions based off of what we're hearing and what we're seeing within our data. You will see that you've been provided with a package of the school's school plan as it's updated for the 25-26 school year. You've also been given an alignment document that shows you how each of the school goals are relating back to and aligned with our strategic goals. This is just a quick overview. The last presentation, I believe, that was given to Ed Directions that I could find in my multiple folders that I adopted this was the process in May to June, the consolidation of the work, September to November, included getting the school plans written down, getting them posted onto the websites, and then in November to June of that year, schools were going to be chronicling their learning journeys, and in the process, we're going to be monitoring, reviewing, and leaning into the work that we needed to continue to do within each of our schools. I included this because I'm uncertain if you all have been shown the initial video where Melissa and Paul, Melissa's like,
Remember this video?
yeah, it was on maternity leave. Melissa and Paul were talking about how we've arrived at the framework for which we're creating our school plans. I'm uncertain about where that had landed. Okay, so then maybe I'll indulge you. It's about 3.5 minutes. Melissa can. Although I'm not sure that I have.
If you clicked on computer audio when you logged in, it'll play.
We really wanted to look at how does the work around helping develop a school plan that would engage our communities, and to what extent does that become not just something that we create as a document, but as a living, breathing part of our work. The strategic plan for the Saanich School District really sought to capture what are the biggest priorities for our school district around mental health and well-being, around literacy, around Indigenous learner success, and around global citizenship. As we looked at that, we wanted to look at how we could develop through robust conversations at the school level around what is the current condition of our school in terms of what students are telling us, what staff are telling us, what communities telling us, how these could align to goals that, in concert with the strategic priority, point us in a direction. And through that, develop really robust curiosities and inquiry questions that could help drive that forward in a very real way. And with that, give us thoughts on, ideas on how we could pull evidence from various ways to really land on strategies that would help take us there. But most important of all, we wanted to align these things with very basic and common holistic principles around First Peoples principles of learning, and that would come with us on this journey together.
I think that the work that we're doing through the strategic plan and the development of school plans really came from a lot of conversation and collaboration around how do we do things differently? How do we not indigenize this process, but how do we decolonize it? And I think we've achieved that. So when we talked with parents and caregivers and grandparents and community members, and we went to visit the local First Nations community, what was something that would represent accurately the work that we were trying to do? We selected the drum because when we talk about the elements that we see, one, it's that circle, there isn't an end or a beginning. Really the components that people have brought together to create that, and all those voices from the schools. And then you take the sinew and you tighten that commitment and this vision that we have to be able to echo and be that heartbeat that is what we're trying to achieve in the Saanich School District around reconciliation and decolonization, and to have Indigenous education be for everyone.
I think the centerpiece to all of this is how does it live? How does it live in the interactions that happen on a daily basis that are so organic and transformative for our students? It resides in how we ask curious questions and listen deeply to our learners as they experience learning. It resides in how we listen to our staff as they navigate different ways of teaching and learning and looking at assessment and looking at all of the things that happen in the lives of their students. To identify those things, those pieces of evidence that help define where we are, where our learners are, and to bring these learnings from our classroom, from our schools, and to our district to help us gauge the ways that we are tracking towards better outcomes for our learners.
So, as Melissa and Paul have noted in there, that we have some nice alignment with always the idea of our strategic goals at the forefront of the work that we are doing. And the listing of the student voices within that has really come to life. That video was captured with the work of Darcy McNee, of Andy Ugro, thank you, and Robin Hembreath. And so we've just continued on this journey of, now that we have our school plans in place, how can we actually visualize this so that we can put it onto the school websites or put it onto the district website when we're looking at how we put forward our school plans. And so that's the initial piece to it. We have 2 other videos that are almost in final draft, which I can give you a sneak peek of today. And then another one that's been captured that we still have to determine on what format we're putting that into. So that's kind of the next steps that we're doing. What we'd like to do is capture a video, a story from one of each of our strategic goals to be able to put on our website and have that published. I don't know that we have the capacity to do one for every school to do that because it takes a lot of work to be able to put these, capture the story and then put it together and publish that. Here is, maybe I'll show you just a brief bit of this and you can tell me if you, would you like, it's about 3.5 minutes. Would you like to see all of it? Okay. This is the first story that was captured through ROMS, and then there is a second one, and I'll just show you how what the difference looks like within these, the 2 ways that Andrea has eloquently captured student voice and staff voice within this.
We found that students are struggling more with their reading. And we realized that while we're middle school teachers and we teach grades 6, 7, and 8, we actually all need to be teachers of reading.
Many of our students were not functioning super well in regular language arts classes and that their literacy needed a boost.
There has been, sort of a slight decline in kids' abilities to read and find enjoyment in reading. I think we should do something about it.
I started to do some research, grabbed some people here at school, and we became a little committee, a group of champions who wanted to start to work on literacy.
I work in the library here at Royal Oak, and I'm really fortunate because I get to interact with almost the whole student body. I felt like what better to be involved in than helping kids build the foundation they need.
We ended up coming up with a pilot project where we were going to look on patterns and spelling patterns, how reading is acquired, reading acquisition, kinds of skills and interventions. Have small groups pulled out at the same time when classrooms were also doing the same kind of work, but maybe at a higher level. We found that the classroom teachers, for the most part, were wary of needing to work on things like phonemes and small parts of words that they really had not expected to have to teach at middle school.
To me, literacy and mental health, our 2 school goals, are completely intertwined, because how can a student possibly have self-worth if they know they're struggling to read?
We're dealing with adolescents, and they don't want to look different from their peers. They really object strongly. We have a lot of students who, whether it's in math or language arts, whether it's in PE, they don't want to be the one who can't do it.
How can we specifically support middle school students to meet them where they're at in their development, but also address their literacy needs?
We needed to do something where the whole school was involved, because having just little pockets here and there wasn't enough.
And that's where we figured out that we couldn't do 2 separate groups, because it was like, wait a minute, everyone should have the same level.
All kids in our whole school are doing literacy intervention. So in the classrooms, we have silent reading, we have read alouds, and other small little bite-sized pieces of literacy intervention.
We use a phonics system as a base, but it's not for spelling. It's just it gives us a systematic way of progressing through patterns and skills, and then we build on that.
Kids are growing so much in 3 years that we have to be able to adjust to them and to the teachers. So that's what we're doing. We're all teachers, we're all learning, that's all we do.
I'll show a small bit of this just to show how the student voice is coming in and how the characters are used rather than the faces of the student voice. this next one. To show you some of the work that we're still diving into in order to visualize the school plans that we hope to post on the website as well. So the challenging part that we find with this is that, this narrative was captured in April, I believe. The voices were captured in April, and then by the time we're coming back to, as they should be, of living and breathing documents within their school plans, by the time we're posting this and showing it somewhere, ROMS has already gone in and made some slight adjustments based off of the data that they've collected. And so that's the challenging part, is the investment of the time of the collection and putting it together, and then the production of the animation. By that point, it could be a little bit somewhat altered news at that point. So that is one of the reasons why we're not going to capture it the same way for all schools. But we do like the idea of having a visual of each of the strategic goals and how they're living within a couple different schools. I'm just going to fast forward this piece so I can get to the student voice.
Our friendship issues, relationships.
It's making more time for students to be able to talk about any part of mental health that you're struggling at.
Well, mental health can kind of curl up in itself sometimes and get tough skin, where it's kind of hard to break through. I have been in a toxic friend group before, and I understand how hard it is to just kind of get out of that, or even notice that you're not being treated right as a person.
So maybe it could be a group for students to come together and talk about things, and maybe even help others if they ever experience anything.
Definitely where you can just like walk in one day and say, hi, I need help with this, and to kind of feel open about that.
They can know.
So that is, I just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of it, and if there's time at the end and you'd like me to play that whole video, we don't occupy it by just looking at the work we've done just to show the progress, visualize our school plans. And what I'd like to get to is talking about our process. So in our journey, Paul had led us through on ways to identify and work with our staff and our parent communities in order to establish a goal, establish an inquiry question, and then maybe potentially also have a second goal as well. And in that framework, we identified what we know about our learners. We identified what we are currently doing. And then there was a how are we doing and where are we going? And for the most part, those two pieces, because they were just the beginning of the plan, we didn't yet know on how we are doing and where are we going to next. So knowing that, of having written the school plan and then also writing the enhanced student learning report this summer, I was seeing the overlap of how well these actually align between our overall enhanced student learning report and each of our school goals. And that specific part of the review and respond, that's really the beginning of how are we doing and where are we going. So the ministry provides, this is the ministry's graphic of continuous improvement for student learning. They expand also on their review and response cycle. So you can see in there is an analyze. How are we doing? Interpret that data, then reflect on that data and make any adjustments. And so that is exactly the process that we asked each of our schools to go through in order to revise and adjust their school plans. So this was a worksheet that we had provided to administrators in August to work with their staff teams to review the results. There's a couple of questions on how are we doing, where are we going now, and then to replan or reassemble the plan. The idea is that some people are still going to stay with their exact same wording with their inquiry question. They're going to have the exact same information about what we know about our learners and what they're currently doing. Their adjustments might be in the where are we going pieces. So that's the part of the evolution that we really wanted administrators to begin to dig into, is what is your data telling you now? Now that you've made a plan within the 22-23 school year, what is the data telling you about how you need to adjust your plan? One of the new databases, I'll call it a database, is it's called MyEd Insights. So this is anything that can be provided in My Education BC the ministry has developed this data source which they can extract information, and then we can filter it based off of our school. Obviously, we can filter it based off our district, but we've given administrators access to this MyEd Insights so that if they want to go in and collect the data around, report card marks or your district literacy assessment or attendance data, that they can go in and start to really ask the system some good questions so that they can really get at what do we know about our learners now? What is the data telling us about how we are doing in terms of trying to actualize our school plans? So this was a new piece that was added in this year, and administrators are still playing with that, along with the student learning survey, along with the McCreary survey that was given 2 years ago. Was that right, Pete? Yes. 2 years ago. And then we, of course, still have our FSA data that they look at as well if they would like to include that within their school. So for the most part, at the end, once our plans were complete in the 23-24 school year, for the most part, school plans said, under the how are we doing category, it said, over the 23-24 year, we will track progress on our initiatives identified in this year's plan specifically, and then it might list a few things, or it might just state that first statement. The second part about where we are going, for the most part, our school plan said, summary learning based on evidence gathered over the year will provide us with key learnings to guide our next steps in the 24-25 school year and beyond. So this was the place where I was asking administrators with their teams to work through and add some information in there and look at the data of all the different categories and let us know, where does your plan need to change? How do your students voice, your students learning? What is it, the data telling you about how you need to make adjustments within your school plan? So I've given you the package of all the school plans. There are some in here that rather than record data within how are we doing, they actually started to record that data within what do we know about our learners. So this was the key part as I was reviewing the school plans was, have they extracted data somewhere, whether it's anecdotal data through student voice or a database, have they extracted data in order to give them feedback on how things are going? So you have the entire package of all the school plans, and I'm just going to give you a few samples of the type of data and the where are we going comments without getting too much in the detail for each school plan. So here's an elementary example. How are we doing? They're going to use empathy interviews twice a year. They have now 3 years of DLA, the district literacy assessment, data in grades 1 through 5 that they're looking at. They have their English language arts snapshot from the report cards. And they have 3 years of student learning survey data. So that's a really great sample of multiple different places that this school was pulling information from to give them information about their learners. And therefore, based off of the analysis of that data, they are committed to cohort analysis to track their progress over time. So keeping track of, okay, they were grade 2, now they're grade 3, now they're grade 4. So a very specific age group and tracking them over time. A commitment to the literacy goal for another 2 years so they can really dig in to seeing the progress of their efforts. And then also they would like to do family reading events because they weren't doing them previously. A middle school example, again, DLA data for emerging learners, emerging literacy learners, so getting a little bit more specific, not all DLA proficiencies, but specifically emerging. Student learning survey, they had an example of 12% increase in students who are reporting that adults in the building treat them fairly. And that speaks to the school climate within their goal. And so therefore their commitment of where they're going is focused on collaboration with a district literacy teacher leader. And they also have put a little bit of pointage time to an in-school teacher leader in literacy to focus on their literacy goal. And a secondary example, again, looking at multiple different types of data, student learning survey, report card data, And I also like looking at attendance data. And in this report, it was really interesting that they looked at I think they took their top 20 students who had the most absences, excused or not excused, the most absences. Maybe it was the top 10. And they noted in How Are We Doing that 9 out of their 10 of the people who were there the least were Indigenous students. And so that gives them a focus to begin to start to dive into, okay, well, how come? What do we need to do differently? And so what they're doing differently, strengthening relationships with community. And they've already put on a very successful event that has strengthened that relationship. They're deepening collaboration with zonal schools so that they can look at those transitions. And they're exploring proactive strategies to re-engage students. So students who have become disengaged within their schools, what are they doing to actually engage these students? So those were just some examples that I really liked the girth of data that was being.
Just touch it. There we go. Give it a second, Pete. Go, just give it a second. There we go.
Thank you. I really like the differentiation in the data points that are being looked at, and therefore the recommitment of what they now know about their students and how they're doing and what they need to do differently. So out of our schools, we had 14 goals that were slightly shifted in language. So there was some.
Okay, I'll get it in a second.
There was 14 goals that had a shift in language. Nobody completely wrote a new goal, but there was a shift of sometimes it wasn't just literacy learning, sometimes it was literacy and numeracy learning. They wanted to expand that a little bit further. And we had 17 inquiry questions that also were edited and changed. And there was a new inquiry question added for one of the goals as well. So that kind of gives you an overall summary of the reflectiveness of that's happening within our schools on student learning and student progress. For our next steps that we're moving to with school plans is now that once the recommendation, hopefully that is successful, to recommend that these are approved, we would like to now go in and start replacing that information within the school websites. Because they have the old 23-24 school plans in there. In May through September, getting towards the end of the school year, I'd like to ask administrators to begin reviewing their progress that they had outlined within their school goals and starting to look at ministry data, student learning survey data, or DLA data. The challenging part with that is that we don't have access to all those data points, same with the Enhanced Student Learning Report, until second week, sometimes even the beginning of the third week of July, when our administrators are actually not working at that time. And so asking them to go back to their schools and say, well, how well did we do this year? They don't actually know, depending on the data that they're looking at, until the middle of July. And so therefore, in September to November, that's when I'd really like them to not only just work with their administrator teams, but their entire teams at staff meetings or smaller working groups on really looking and diving into the data to see the reflection points that should be actualized within their school plans and make amendments to the plan. And I think that they need time in order to do those pieces. And our AP 102 does say that by the end of December, that the superintendent will present the school plans to the board through the Ed Directions Committee. And so that's my hope, is that I know when I came in, it was like, okay, well, can we hear about school plans at the beginning of September? I think if we ask that, it doesn't create a comprehensive approach for a school staff to work together to say, this is our school plan, we believe in it, and these are the movements we're making forward. It would become the administrative team writing a plan that then they have to verbalize to their staff rather than being a collaborative process. So that would be my hope, is that we can stick to what Admin Procedure 102 says, and that we can present the school plans in December is my hope. Because it gives more authenticity. Any questions? Yes.
very much, Mel. Now, I'm going to propose that we use first names because it's the end of the day.
It's great for answer names at the end.
Yeah. And Dave had his hand up first, so that's a point, actually. Was it about approval of the school plan?
That's what I wanted to talk about, trustee Nola. Thank you.
Call me.
If I could just give some context to that date, when that admin procedure was updated was 5 years ago. We didn't have this model of school plan development where we had this more cycle nature of review and adjustment. And with the incarnation of the new school plan, which Melanie really outlined beautifully where we were and where we are right now and the importance of looking at all the data. The December 31st timeline is a little bit difficult in terms of ensuring that our schools, not only our administrators, but they have time to meet with their school teachers and staffs around what the data is telling them and where we need to go. The board may also recall that we had a December board meeting as well too, which we tend not to have anymore. So really, it's not December 31st anymore. It's the middle of November for Ed Directions if this would need to come to us in November. Now, it makes it a very tight timeline. And while admin procedures fall under the purview of the superintendent, it felt disingenuous for me to arbitrarily change the reporting deadline from December 31st to another time, since I would need to make sure that I consult with affected parties, which in this case is the Board of Education. And so I would propose that if the committee felt so inclined, that we change the date from December 31st to January 31st to report to the board, so that it gives us the fall. It could very well come to the November Ed Directions, but if, because of time restrictions and communication challenges and data delays, which have happened in the past from the ministry, that we have a bit more time to make sure that we have some robust changes and alterations to the plan so it comes in a more complete.
So, I'm sorry if I didn't check in with you about whether this was not a recommendation or not, but clearly it's not an item for recommendation to the board this month.
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes, we've come this month with the completed plans for recommendation to the board. I'm talking about it as an ongoing basis. This timeline was extremely tight this time to try and get this all completed and wrapped up. It seems like by the third month of the school year shouldn't be a problem, but September is a write-off, October is a busy time, which is very difficult for the school teams to have that meaningful collaboration time. We did it this time because it is part of the admin procedure, but as we went through this process, my recommendation is that we delay it by at least a month so that we have a bit more flexibility in having them do collaboration.
That's
moving forward.
The committee, if it's okay, committee members, and the recommendation that we'll put to the board is that the board approve the school plans as presented.
Correct.
And then you're proposing, Dave, that the next cycle will be that the approval will be in January.
It could be as late as January, it could also fall in November, depending on where we are.
Okay.
But no later than the end of January.
So now on to questions. Chairman.
I don't know. I don't know if the committee members ever, no.
George?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank everybody for put all the hard work into those school plans. I had a chance to read a few of them. I didn't read all of them. I am going to do that. That was just a lot of reading. But there's a lot of work that went into them, and I'm really appreciative of all the hard work that you guys did in doing that. And I think, you know, in the times that I get to go to the schools and see, I can see how all of the schools have taken on our strategic plan and put it into their schools, and it's gratifying to see that. So thank you very much for all of you and everybody.
I'll just echo similar sentiments. I am so pleased that we become clinicians as educators now, as it is following the curriculum with our eyes closed. We are looking at what the needs are and addressing the needs. And we should get wonderful results for looking at needs we never looked at before because we said they weren't there, because we didn't look. And now we're asking our students and soliciting what their needs are. And that's a great progression in education and one that we should be very proud of. It's taken us a long time to get this far in education. The ivory towers at the universities used to do it, and sometimes it dribbled down to the grassroots, and often it didn't. And the thesis has got shelved at the universities and nobody read them. So kudos to you guys for being on the ground, looking what the needs are and addressing the needs, and pushing it forward. Thank you.
And thank you. And consistent with my colleagues' comments, I'm so encouraged by what you've explained and reminded us of the process of developing these things and the extensive teamwork and collaboration that's required to make this happen. Forgive me a bit of institutional memory. When these were first mandated 25 years ago, the experience I witnessed was the principal of the school grabbing a couple of PAC members and saying, "You're the school planning council with me." I think that's what it was called. You would know. And yes, and come in here and endorse this plan. And if you ask any questions about it, they weren't encouraged because it would need more work. And so you wound up, what do I know, signing the plan. And that was the end of it so far as the school planning council. That may be unfair to the administrators of the day because they may have consulted with their staff. I don't know. I expect so in some fashion. But this is so much more sophisticated and so much more disseminated among the staff and among the data sources and as a continuous ongoing process. And it's just so gratifying to see many strategic plans in all of our individual institutions, which, and the important part, as you pointed out, is that are aligned with the head, the master plan. And so the cohesion of this process is something that really, and like Barry and Joyce, I thank you for taking. Not only explain it, but remind us of the work that goes into this, of the expectations and the results. And that it's data, it's evidence that we can use for these things, which of course is what we used for the strategic plan as well. So wonderful stuff, I think.
I attended the COPAX meeting last night, and when I highlighted a few of the things that we'd be discussing at today's committee day, I mentioned that the school plans were going to be presented by email. And one of the parents said, well, where do we get to read that school plan? So I caught that they are posted on the website. I went to look for it. Is it by school?
So if you go into the school website, and under About Us, I think right away, if you click on that, it will tell you whatever the first tab is there, I think it says About Us, it will drop down to the school plan. And so these, because we have not updated the school plans, these are not yet on the school website, we're waiting for them to be approved, and then we will update what was already there. And if you remember back to the good work that was done, again, all the good work that's done by administrators and our district staff, like Darcy, Andy, and Robin, to actually place it into something that just doesn't look like this, right? There are these beautiful graphics that align with what Melissa was talking about, the drone and the sinew. There's all those graphics that are included all throughout our school plans. So I would really encourage COPAX members to actually go take a look, because not only does it have is it an enticing read, in my opinion, but it also has beautiful graphics that it's attractive to read as well.
It's good to know. Another parent mentioned that her child attends one of the middle schools, and the principal sends out an email newsletter every week. And she said, could we please pass on the message that that would be a good place to highlight in school plans, or the new school plan is posted? Because she couldn't, she reads it every week, but she said she couldn't remember anybody telling her about a school plan on the school website, so.
This is a great suggestion.
So, Susan, thank you, Chair. It is under our school, by the way, right on the front page. Accessibility, so are those videos going to replace the written school plan or just be a part of it? I would like to recommend that closed captioning be added for hard of hearing.
Actually, I think my videos, yes, I will say, my videos did have that, I think, but when I put them into the the slideshow part to it, I just needed to turn on closed captioning again.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much, Mel. And we will have that on the board agenda next week, so that you can. Do you have to leave us now?
Nope, I was just gonna roll over to Darcy's.
Darcy, with a great documentary about.
Getting to watch a lot of videos today. I should have had a
That's right.
That's a big start. I think I'll say that for me. Yeah, I think so. Can I grab your clicker now?
Yep, you got it.
And I might have to get you to press play on the video when we go through. So just while we're waiting for the technology, I'll start by saying that I'm really honored to get to share this project that I had the great privilege of walking alongside. And I think it wouldn't be the full story if you thought this was my project. There is a huge team behind this work. And our Indigenous Ed department couldn't have done it without them. Specifically, Muriel Morris, Sockwood, Laura Lee McAvey, Landon Underwood, and Anne Rose Underwood. Their support in this project was just so instrumental to making this vision come alive. And we're in a time where and I can talk a little bit before we get the presentation up. About 2 years ago, I was at the First Nations Education Steering Committee provincial conference, and I saw this beautiful learning resource, our story-rich learning resource that was being created with the Lake Batween Nation. And the more I watched what they had done, that I got to like really antsy and like I was just like wiggling in my seat, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, I want to be afraid of Spanish, how can we do that? But this is so beautiful. And so luckily, Melissa never said no to me. She just kept saying, book another meeting, book another meeting. And so we were able to work with this BC-based company called Live at Earth. I'm going to see if this works from over here. Is there a secret to your clicker now? I don't know. It should. No, is this not? Let me just, maybe. So let's switch spots. I'm sure. Can I do it from there? Can I get that from there? This here is a picture of Muriel during the filming. A beautiful picture that I wanted to share with you right off the start so that you could see her instrumental involvement in it. So this is Live at Earth. Live at Earth is a streaming service, kind of like a Netflix. And this is meant for teachers. Teachers sign on to the platform. And there's documentaries that are about 20 minutes long. And then connected to the documentary are rich educational resources, literacy resources, career education resources, mental health resources. There's just really, really rich resources embedded within this Live at Earth. And so all teachers in Saanich, any of you, can log in and see this. So I put the code on there, which is Focused Ed 2023. And we can make sure that you get access to it. If you just Google Live at Earth, there'll be a way that you can sign in and create an account. And that's the coupon code that you need in order to access this sort of Netflix for schools. And so this BC company, we worked with them and they have really strong values and aligned with our work here in Saanich. And we were able to work alongside with Saanich community members, knowledge keepers, and elders to share some teachings from the Saanich community. And we went in with sort of 3 goals. We wanted to bring the teachings of knowledge keepers and elders into the classroom, make those really accessible into Saanich classrooms and to classrooms around BC and Canada. We were really intentional with our language. The idea of when you're filming, the idea of capturing something sort of can perpetuate really ugly historical wrongs. We wanted to make sure we were really intentional about amplifying the stories that community wanted to share and preserving those, and then gathering them and sharing them so that we could share rich teachings about language and culture. And then we wanted to extend the knowledge of this great place beyond our local community and out into the province and then across Canada as well. This work really aligns with our strategic plan in a number of ways too. So when you think about Indigenous learner success, being able to see themselves in the materials that we're creating and our local community honored and respected, being able to, the literacy resources, when we dig into all the literacy resources that were created with local intent. And then even when we think about global citizenship, when we think about our global citizenship goal, and we think about local first, at the heart of being a good global citizenship, the global citizen is knowing who you are and where you come from first and honoring that and keeping that at the center of the good work that you go out and take into the world. So this project helped us connect to a number of our strategic plan goals as well. We invited the filming company into our community for 4 days, and we worked with our knowledge keepers and elders and went through community and collected beautiful teachings that could then be shared. And as part of this work, we have hours of footage, 4 days of footage where we just let the cameras roll. In the end, you'll see a 20-minute documentary, but for at least every 20 minutes is at least an hour, if not more, of footage that was given to us to continue to make educational resources, as well as an external hard drive was given to the Saanich community. It said, these are your teachings, these are your stories, this is your land, here's all this documentary footage that we've created, please take this and do whatever you want with it. So we still have that to give. And we're still working on how we give that over, but that's the next part of the process. So I'll share with you the film, and then I'll just walk you through a little bit of how it came to be.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another Live with Earth show. I'm Christine, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today. This week, I had the amazing opportunity to go on the ferry and cross over to Vancouver Island. I'm very grateful to have been invited by the Saanich community to come out here and talk to Loralee to find out more. Let's go meet her now. Hi Loralee, it's so nice to meet you today. I'm wondering if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, Ait Koichel, Soksakawit Tanase, Chisalas Nat Satanich, Eason Panase, Etla, I Kunas Kunanga. I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Safulit, and I'm Husseinich here from the Saanich Peninsula. And I'm really happy to welcome you to the Husseinich territory today.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here. So I heard that your community has a special relationship with the moons and what each of the moons represents, and I would love to learn more.
The Husseinich people, we follow a 13-month calendar that follows the moon phases throughout the year, following the seasonal cycles.
And so how would you know that we have moved from one season or cycle into the next?
Every new moon starts with the new moon part of the phase of the moon phases. So with each new moon marks the beginning of a new month of a calendar.
My ancestors would watch and understand what the moon was doing. They knew each season that went along with this full moon and this full moon and then this full moon, which leads to our seasonal gatherings, our seasonal fishing and hunting. Same with travel. We travel based on the moon and the water. So there's just so much that nature teaches us, and a lot of things we follow is what that moon's doing today. There's signs everywhere. The animals, the birds, the moon, they all have a connection.
And now for a kid's question.
Hi, I am Fletcher. What is your favorite moon?
My favorite moon is actually Wachis, and Wachis is the frog moon. That moon marks the beginning of the sacred time of year for the Husseinich people. Those warmer summer months when a lot of our harvesting happened to be our sacred time. And Wachis is our word for frog in Sinchothan. And one of the reasons why I particularly enjoy that time of year is I grew up right beside a creek, so I could hear the frogs when they'd wake up and start singing their songs again. Salmon was a very big part of the life of the Husseinich people. Nowadays, you might hear people referring to the Husseinich people as saltwater people, but more traditionally, we called ourselves the salmon people because our entire year revolved around a salmon coming back to Husseinich. And that started with Chantucky, which was the time when the sockeye would come back to Husseinich, and we would start with reef net fishing.
I think what I wanted to come and share with all of you today was about the Saanich reef net fishery, or we call Shola. And that was a fishery that was unique to the Saanich people.
And when they traveled out there, all the men from the village traveled with the shaman or medicine man he was out there to open the fishery.
If you can imagine a net that was about the size of a classroom, essentially, and that net would be set in the water and in the moving tide between two canoes that were anchored. And then in front of those canoes was a lead. It was kind of like a funnel, would lead salmon right into the net. So this is a very, I think, complicated, sophisticated fishing technique, but it was also very sustainable. That was because, not just because of the technique, but also because of our worldviews and spiritual beliefs that went into that fishing practice.
And after the sockeye salmon, what would happen next?
After the sockeye would come to our territory, then we would move into the moon of Chunhanan, and Chunhanan is when the humpback salmon, or the pink salmon, return to our territory.
I actually believe that we're close to a full moon right now. Where are we in the calendar?
Right now we are in Chunquatlok. Chunquatlok is the time when the dog salmon return to the earth. They return here in the Husseinich territory. So they come back to Salaktash, which is Goldstream. So people at this time of year, the Salish people would be moving back towards Salaktak to go dip net fishing so that we can catch some salmon for the last little bit of the salmon fishing season.
We know that the moon actually is a guide for us. It tells us when we can harvest certain things, when the fish are going to return, and what fish are going to return at each moon. And we're transitioning into the moon for the dogfish, the quatloch it's called. This stream has 4 different species that come to this stream. You have the coho salmon, you have the chinook salmon, which are the spring salmon, you have the chum salmon, and then the 4th one is actually a trout. It's the steelhead trout. And those numbers are actually picking up in this stream. It looks kind of low right now, and that's because the tide's out. The tide actually affects the level of this stream up this high. So when the tide comes back in the next hour or so, this water will rise.
And the salmon's important in our life because it's the life cycle of a salmon, and it's very important to us as First Nations in our food as well as our culture. We love smoked fish, and then my boys catch it, smoke it, and can it. I can the fish, and they love that because they get to see, and they're all part of it.
Sounds like a lot of work happens sort of leading up to the colder months. We can definitely feel the weather changing here. What does winter look like?
So we're moving into the moon that we'll see next is Pakaleno, and Pakaleno means turning the leaves white. So it's talking about when the leaves change color, and you will start to see some frosty mornings. So definitely the weather's getting cooler at this time of year.
This was an important time to gather the salmon and be smoking the salmon. And we hung it and smoked it in the smokehouses that we had. And we cooked it with green alder or green maple, because that gave off the most smoke. And it's a cold smoke, it's not a hot smoke. So it's cooked for 7 days traditional, and you can eat the salmon just like that, dried. It's kind of like salmon jerky, and very delicious. And my dad used to bang on the table. He said the salmon was that hard, he said, because we had to find a way to preserve our food to be stored, and it wouldn't rot or go bad.
What will happen in the coming months is we think of those months as the time that we put our
See if we can just go back in. While we're waiting for it, you'll see lots of images in there of Bayside. So all the smokehouse was Bayside Smokehouse, the fish caught were fish that Bayside students had caught during the time that they were building. See if it's gonna go. It's all working here. Tap the screen. I need to turn it on. Just the last few minutes, and I think that's okay because I can give you the link so that you can go on and watch it if you'd like to. And I did want to share a few more things, so hopefully it'll come up. Just capturing these stories and these teachings and these voices and being able to bring them into the classrooms in Saanich, but then also to classrooms throughout BC and Canada was a really rewarding experience and continues to be. I wanted to share the story of the launch day, and what a launch looked like is we put the names of all the knowledge keepers and elders in a big star, and then we put them all over the boardroom. So they walked in, and we had popcorn, and we had licorice, and we set it up like a movie theater, and we had a countdown on the big board as we were launching the film. And we invited all of our guests to come in because during the launch of a film on Live at Earth, the students watch in live time and then they ask questions. So there's a chat function where they chat through their teacher. The teacher will write in the kids' questions that they have for the knowledge keepers and elders. So we had paired each knowledge keeper and elder with an Indigenous Ed staff member, and they were typing the questions, the responses to the kids throughout the district that were sending in their questions for the knowledge keepers and elders. So a teacher would get a question like, Ella is wondering why there are 2 moons in December. And then a knowledge keeper or elder would answer them. And my phone was blowing up from teachers all around the district because the kids were so happy when the elders would answer them. And so, thank you, you got it back up. We'll skip to the end of the film and you want to get back down here? Yeah, we'll just go to the next slide and we can, oh, sorry, not play the, okay. I don't want to monopolize the time.
It was a really fun day.
Yeah. Can I just go to the next slide, maybe? Testing, frozen. There we go, we're there. So this is what our launch day looked like. We had all of our resources out and everybody's face in a star. And this is what it looked like as we had our Indigenous Ed staff all partnered with a knowledge keeper or elder. You see Vern Jackson on the bottom there with Suzanne. And one of my most beautiful memories of the day is from that, because one of the first questions that came in from one of the students, Parker, asked, how is salt water made? And I'm starting to sweat. I'm like, how is salt water made? Like my first year Earth and Ocean Sciences, like how am I gonna answer this question? And Vern said, I've got that. And I was like, okay, you take it. And so his answer to Parker was, the creator makes the water. And I was like, you're right, Vern, we're good. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be good for the rest of the day. And what was also cute about this story is Jessica Underwood, who is one of our Indigenous Ed staff, very connected to our school district, was watching the kids at Pulset ask these questions and was watching Vern answer them and was very suspicious that Vern was not doing the typing and doing the chat feature. She came running in, like I heard the wheels in the parking lot, as she came in. I came running in and she's like, oh, it is you. You are answering those questions. And he's like, did you not think I was answering these questions? And she said, well, I had to help you log in and out of Netflix so many times. Like I didn't think there was any way that you could answer Netflix. And so we've got other beautiful questions like, why is the Saanich moon cycle so important? And why are there 2 Decembers in the calendar? And so students were able to get their beautiful questions answered directly from the knowledge keepers and elders. And then you can see their beautiful smiling faces as they were seeing their questions being answered from across the district as they saw while they were watching the film all of their questions. And so that film lives on the Live at Earth platforms for students around BC and Canada to access. It's available in both French and English. So the whole program, with the click of a button, is automatically translated into French as well as all the resources. So the literacy, language activities, one click of a button accessible in French and English. The video does have closed captioning and can be slowed down. So in our French immersion classrooms, what they're doing in some of our French immersion classrooms is they're reducing the speed so that the students can hear the French and see the French and read along with the French so that they're picking up the French fluency as they're watching these resources. And especially in our French immersion classrooms, to have local Indigenous resources available is really rewarding. And sort of then like as a full circle moment, which is really exciting for me, when I was in FNESC 2 years ago and feeling like, how are we gonna make this happen? Laura Lee and I, Sixalkowit and I, had just been selected to present at FNESC in December. So at the First Nations Education Steering Committee Conference this December, Laura Lee and I will be sharing this good work out with the province. So a full circle moment. I'm really excited to be able to share all the good work here in Saanich. So thank you for taking the time to watch that with me and be part of this story. But it was something that we really wanted to make sure that we shared with you.
Well, thank you for taking the time to bring this to us. What a wealth of grateful experience for everyone involved, and also what a gift to educators, students, families across Canada. And in both the English stream and French version, that's special. So, questions? Anybody else have questions? Oh, yeah, we're in awe, and that's what it is. It's really special.
Thank you for a very authentic resource. That's not always, it's not photography, it's mesmerizing.
So do we understand that the district has a Live at Earth subscription?
Yes.
But it's available to everybody with this code?
That's right, yeah. And Live at Earth is typically only available to teachers, but as part of what Live at Earth has as part of their mandate to make sure there's no barriers at all for Indigenous families, there was a special code given for WSENH community members, WSENH students, WSENH families, so that they can have direct access to the platform without having to pay for any subscription services or anything as well. So, and then we own all of the footage, and we have rights to all of the footage and everything to make additional educational resources over time.
So I'm on the site. How would I go to sign up?
That's right.
Yes. So I will put my name in.
So if I scroll down to the bottom where it'll say you have a Focus Ed code.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'll show you just at the bottom of the sign page. So if you just Google Live at Earth, and then if we go to sign up, and down at the bottom, there's a Focused Ed if you have a Focused Ed code. And then you can put in your Focused Ed code that I had for you, which is
Focused Ed 2023.
yes,
Exploration.
yeah, that's it there. I don't know if it'll let me. It might not, because I'm on Mel's computer, but it's Ed 2023 exclamation point. And then you have to go in and fill in all of your details. Yeah. So once you're on that site, you can have, let's see if it'll take me directly to it here. Maybe not, because I'm on Mel's computer. But if you have any trouble accessing it, it's not going to take me to it from here.
Well, thank you once again.
Innovative
Project.
Thank you.
So, number 3 on our agenda is name change for Indigenous board authorized. Would like to speak to this.
I'll let you go. I'll start because I was in this role when we shepherded it through. And I did prepare a briefing note, which I hope you've had an opportunity to look at. As I think everybody in this room knows, this course was co-creation between Saanich schools and Saanich community. And throughout it has been characterized by a collaborative and iterative process. We were grateful in the winter, February, and the board did approve it as a BOD after multiple sessions. We're so lucky today to have Sally in the room with us today. This was Sally's capstone project as she barreled along to us. And thank you so much for joining us here today, Sally. It was approved by the board in February, and we subsequently submitted the paperwork to the Ministry of Education. We did receive approval for the course as a BOD. We also received approval, which is done through FINESC and the ministry for this course to be considered to satisfy the Indigenous focused graduation requirements. And we continued along with the collaboration with the community, and we received information in September that there were some questions in the community about the name that was chosen. The initial name was Tlaingfar, which translates to birthright. I think, and Sally, maybe I'll let you speak to this. I think the idea behind the name, it was one that was suggested by a community member. The idea was always that it would be somewhat of a placeholder, that ultimately the students and community members would potentially change that name. But prior to, we got along with the course of planning, the course celebration, and we received information from the community in September that we needed to do a little more homework on the course name. There was concern that it wasn't the best choice, so we took those concerns quite seriously. We wanted to be sure that this was not just the course was co-created and developed in close consultation and collaboration with the Senate, but also that the name reflected their wishes and desires. So we had input from a number of members at one of the course development meetings in September. We then had our community liaison reach out to committee members and an iterative process, and I believe it was in October that we came back again and met at this table with many community members, and there were two different suggested in Dublin, and the one that we had recommended, you'll see in front of you. And I wonder, Darcy, if we could perhaps, there's a link here to both the pronunciation and a little explanation of the title. It roughly translates to Learning Together from Our Homelands. You want me to go to that? Yeah, there's a link in the document. I don't know if that's, if you have the agenda in front of you. Do you have the agenda on your? There's a link in the. No, it's good. I have the agenda. I'm recording. Oh, sorry. I can go ahead and just click on the link. And as you are navigating your way to find that, we did have the district's community liaison do further consultations with community members outside of the members who were present. Well, just unplug it so that you're.
I have unplugged it.
At the meeting in October, and he came back and said that this was a good process for us to follow, to listen to the voices of the community, which was to see the name, and that there was not just in that meeting of community members with whom we were directly consulting on the course, but also in the broader community. So I hope that encapsulates the whole process. Perhaps if Melissa would weigh in more just a couple of weeks ago, and I always think if you were here through this process, we wouldn't have stumbled upon this. So this was something that we could have. There's certainly good learning that came from this in terms of just having an iterative collaborative process. So it is our recommendation that the committee recommend to the board that the course name be changed in recognition of the feedback that we had from Saanich community. Did you want to say, Marcella?
I would add that London Underwood has been critical in this sort of part of the journey in reaching out, taking the community temperature, finding the right people to come back into the room, and then doing the necessary follow-up. So if we don't have, I can take a. I've got the link here. Oh, do you? Okay. I've been practicing, but it's like I'm not very good yet. Okay. So whoops.
Í tátalnach at the Élan Anochta, learning together from our homelands. Í tátalnach at the Élan Anochta, learning together from our homelands.
Nola, if you click on the next one down, there's also an explanation.
Í tátalnach at the Élan Anochta. It's referring to learning together, and that comes from Altailnoch and Í tátal, that compressed together. The end of Í tátalnoch is a root compression of Altailnoch, which is people or person. And the first part refers to learning for Í tátal. And homelands near the end there comes from Eitlanonok, and that means Eitlong is house, and the end there, the root or the suffix, anok, means a place. So when you put it together, it's a place of house, so it kind of compressed it into homelands. Eitlanok.
Committee members? So is it possible to have it broken down into discernible things for us to try to pronounce? I remember when I was first practicing essays in Chalk, and you did it nicely for me in syllables and letters I recognize. And I know Brentwood Bay, they at the beginning, they used to say, how we come, and they've taken it off now, but at least for the locals, we got the chance a couple of years to practice how to say it. Is that possible?
I think that might be something that can happen down the road. I know that's been the way that Laura has sort of recorded things. We don't have it right now. The recordings that are here today on the website are ones that we actually took. Darcy was recording at the end. Gary Claxton. And he sort of said it for us and explained it. And she said, wait, please can I record it? So this was a kind of a first level piece.
So it'll be coming for us.
Maybe it's something the students will work on too.
Student created resources would be lovely, right? Because the students will be learning to say it too. One of the, just to chime in, because you guys know how I love to do that. One of the pieces of the conversation about this is it is quite a big Central Auckland name, and how will students feel about that? Should we shorten it? Should we make it more easier for students? And what the conversation in the room was, this isn't work that should be easy. This is work that we need to dig in and do the work. So I so appreciate your question. Like, can we break it down so that can we learn all the little pieces so that we can put it together? And that's what the students will be doing, is learning all the little pieces and putting in that work so that we can learn this beautiful language and the beautiful teaching. So I'm super excited that this is the name that was chosen. And as the students continue to build the resources, the language resources, so that we can all learn alongside it.
It's part of our literacy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Breaking it down to all the pieces so that we can see the whole picture.
And it will run for the first time at Stellies starting in February. And the two teachers who are taking on this important work are really digging into it and working hard to prepare at this point.
Thanks, Noma. I'm hoping to, at least in my case, achieve a little better understanding of the reason for the request for the name change. I remember the May meeting, it was a celebration. It was lovely. So much work had come together, and we took a little time afterwards with the folks. And so that was a real sense of accomplishment, and it still is. The new name, the proposed new name, Learning, of course, I'm not a great child speaker, but so I'll use the English. Learning together from our homelands makes great sense to me. But in a way, so did Birthright. So I assume this isn't just a matter of preference in the community, that there's a substantive reason for it. Is that assumption correct? And can you clarify a little bit more what the objection was so that we understand why this is
I see Melissa and
Well, I can just speak to it from, you all know who I am and where I come from. Chelangan is my birthright. It is the birthright of me as a person. It's the birthright of my children. We don't want the participants to be in an awkward position, or for us to have children who are in that class, who that is their birthright, to be in a course with their peers who are also taking a course that's called my birthright. That's mine. That's sacred.
individual.
That's sacred to me. And I only share that with my ancestors, I share that with my parents, my grandparents, with my children. So it's something that I think with the best of intention was suggested because it is also can be translated into my culture. And so we're learning about my culture and that's a great thing. But when you break it down and you look at it, it's something too sacred to put into a title for that course. And so I think what better aligns with what our intention is for that course and what our, meaning our community in terms of gifting this opportunity to the school district is really about working together in our homelands and learning about the homelands in which we are now sharing in different ways. So I think it's really about, it's not necessarily an objection, it's here's some new guidance that we'd like to share with you because since that time and the excitement of all of this, because this is still, and I don't ever want to take away from that, an exciting, a groundbreaking opportunity that we have in our school district that not every school district has to share and learn in this particular way. We just want to make sure that we're doing it in the best way and we're walking lightly in this work as we walk alongside. And so I think it's just, here's some new guidance that we've received and let's do this in the right way, in a good way, and walk together in the work in our homelands.
Yeah, thank you. With that explanation, particularly around the significance of the term birthright in the culture, that makes perfect sense. So I appreciate the further explanation.
Thank you. Well, with that said, committee members, can we agree to put this recommendation forward to the board? Of course, yes, of course. And is there anything else that anybody wanted to add to that? So the course will be taught at Stellies starting in February. And how many teachers will there be? I assume there'll be elders as well and a team of people?
I think there's two teachers that Sally's continuing this year to work with in terms of helping with some of that support as they're in preparation for it, but there'll be lots of elders or knowledge keepers who become a part of that. And I don't know if you want to share about the celebration or if that's coming up.
Sure. Yeah, one of the things that the teachers are sort of moving forward with things. They have some financial support from Mel and from Sean at Stellies, so that they will be able to bring in knowledge keepers and community members and elders, because that's a really critical piece of this. The two teachers are non-Indigenous, and so it's especially important that they have the community support to lift up what they, they're learning along the way. And so that's actually the date, the 13th of January. So we had planned initially a celebration for June, and then we put it off, and we put it off again because we really wanted to make sure that the name was right. So it'll be on January 13th. And I think we'll be sending out invites to all of you for it. It's in the afternoon, and it's being planned now with lots of, we're taking the lead from community on what this will look like.
We'll look forward to hearing more details about that. And it looks like we've concluded our agenda. And thank you again for everyone coming, especially Sally. So thank you all, and see you January.
Thanks, Nova.
Yeah.